Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Public Service Commission of South Carolina. Today is April 14th, 2022. It is 10 a.m. Before we get started, please join me in a brief moment of silence. Thank you. Present in the hearing room, we have Commissioners J. Williams, C. Williams, Thomas, Powers, and Belzer. Joining us virtually, we have Commissioners Irvin and Caston. Attorney Butler, if you would read the docket, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, other members of the commission. This docket before you today is docket number 2021-13A, the application of Chem-Nuclear Systems, LLC for adjustment in the levels of allowable costs for fiscal year 2020-2021 and identification of allowable costs for the fiscal year 2021-2022. A hearing has been scheduled for April 14th, 2022 at 10 a.m. before the commission for the purpose of receiving testimony and evidence from all interested parties. Mr. Chairman, other members of the commission, the docket is in order. And Mr. Chairman, I do have one additional matter to take up with the commission. We had expected the Department of Health and Environmental Control to participate. I was in touch with council this morning, and it's been indicated that DHEC will not participate before the commission this morning. They have no concerns. They say they have placed that in a letter for the commission's record. And so we will not have DHEC participation this morning.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
All right, let's take appearances. Applicant, Chem-Nuclear Systems, LLC.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. I'm David Black. I'm attorney for Chem-Nuclear. Thank you. Mr. Smith. I'm joined by Mr. Smith today. He is the director of the Barnwell operations. And also, we're here today with Mr. Jason Jones, who is the incoming director for the Barnwell operations.
All right, pleasure to meet you, Mr. Smith. And is Mr. Jones virtual? Oh, no, he's in the audience there. Good morning, Mr. Jones. All right, thank you, gentlemen. South Carolina Department of Consumer Affairs. All right, they were noticed and they are not making an appearance. And we already heard from the South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control, Atlantic Compact Commission, noticed and not present. South Carolina Attorney General, noticed and not present. Office of Regulatory Staff.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Madam Vice Chair, and members of the commission. Apologize, I'm used to somebody turning it on for me and got spoiled. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Madam Vice Chair, and members of the commission. My name is Chris Huber. I'm here on behalf of the Office of Regulatory Staff, and I'm joined by Donna Rainey. Ordinarily, at the start of these hearings, ORS will request to introduce its examination report into the record. I'm glad to do that now, unless the chairman would prefer that I wait until after Chem-Nuclear presents its witness.
You are welcome to introduce it now, sir.
Thank you. In accordance with South Carolina Code Section 4846-40, the Office of Regulatory Staff obtained and audited the books and records of Chem-Nuclear. The ORS examination of Chem-Nuclear's application and underlying financial records was conducted by ORS's Director of the Audit Department, Daniel Sullivan, or prepared under his direction and supervision. Based on the results of ORS examination, Chem-Nuclear accepted ORS's adjustments and filed an amended application with the Commission on February 25th, 2022, incorporating ORS's adjustments. ORS's examination report and exhibits were filed with the Commission on March 15th, 2022. Mr. Chairman, at this time, I would ask that the cover letter filed by ORS on March 15th, 2022, and the report and exhibits 1 and 2 to the report, ORS filed on February 25th, 2022, be marked for identification and entered into the record of this case as a composite hearing exhibit. I apologize, the report and exhibits 1 and 2 were also filed on March 15th, 2022, not February 25th.
All right, understood, sir. So ORS's cover letter, examination report, and the exhibits to the report, exhibits 1 and 2, will be marked as a composite exhibit and entered into the record as hearing exhibit number 1.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's all for ORS at this time.
All right, thank you for joining us, Attorney Rainey and General Counsel Huber. All right, anything before we get started? I'd like to welcome Ms. Gretchen Wise with us today. She's a visiting court reporter. Thank you for your service to the commission. Chem-Nuclear, are you ready to proceed?
We are, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
All right, please proceed, sir.
Chem-Nuclear calls its first witness, Mr. Benjamin Smith, the Director of Barnwell Operations.
Mr. Smith, if you would take the witness stand and that seat right there, sir, in front of the court reporter to your left, and be so kind to press that push button. All right, and the court reporter will take it from here.
Would you please raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you'll give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Yes. Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Smith.
Good morning.
Please state your name, position, and business address for the commission.
Yes, my name is Benjamin S. Smith. My business address is located at 740 Osborne Road, Barnwell, South Carolina. I am employed by Chem-Nuclear Systems, LLC, CNS, a wholly owned subsidiary of Duratech Incorporated, which is in turn a wholly owned subsidiary of EnergySolutions, LLC. As Director, Barnwell Disposal Operations, I am responsible for the safe and proper disposal of low-level radioactive waste received at the disposal facility in accordance with the company's South Carolina radioactive material license. I am also responsible for management, supervision, and administration of disposal operations personnel, equipment, and buildings.
Mr. Smith, please state your educational background and professional experience.
I have a Bachelor of Science degree in Geological Engineering from Washington State University, Pullman, Washington, and a Master of Engineering in Civil Engineering from the University of South Carolina. I am a registered professional engineer in South Carolina and a registered professional geologist in South Carolina. I am also certified as a groundwater well driller in South Carolina. I have over 30 years of experience at the Barnwell Disposal Facility in various positions, starting as a geotechnical engineer, progressing to senior project engineer, involved in design and construction management on the site, regulatory compliance, financial management, and program management for large component projects, Phase 1 decommissioning activities, and other special projects at the disposal site. I have been employed with CNS since 1986 and assumed my present position in August of 2017.
Have you previously provided testimony before the Public Service Commission?
Yes, I have testified before the Public Service Commission 3 times, and last year I submitted written testimony to the Public Service Commission.
What is the purpose of your testimony today?
My testimony will provide information to the Commission about the disposal site operations relative to disposal of low-level radioactive waste at the disposal facility located in Barnwell County, South Carolina. I will provide a brief background on the general process that has been used in this proceeding for identifying the allowable costs associated with our low-level radioactive waste disposal business. I have included an amended application for identification of allowable costs as an exhibit to my testimony. My testimony will be based on the amended application filed on February 25th, 2022, instead of the application filed on September 24th, 2021. The amended application, including amended Exhibit A, amended Exhibit B, and amended Exhibit C, reflects the agreed-upon changes resulting from the Office of Regulatory Staff's annual audit of our allowable costs. My testimony will also focus on the principal differences in categories of costs between costs we actually incurred in fiscal year 2020-2021 and the estimated costs identified in Commission Order 2021-412. Finally, my testimony will summarize the costs we are requesting the Commission to identify as allowable for fiscal year 2021-2022, as shown in amended Exhibit C.
You are the same Benjamin Smith that prepared 11 pages of amended direct testimony that was filed with the Commission on March 1, 2022.
Yes, I am.
If those same questions were asked today, would your testimony remain the same?
Yes, to the best of my knowledge, my pre-filed direct testimony is true, and my answers to the questions posed would be the same today if given orally from the stand.
At this time, I'd respectfully request the Commission that Mr. Smith's pre-filed direct testimony be read into the record as if given orally from the stand.
Mr. Smith's pre-filed direct testimony, the amended version of his pre-filed direct testimony, will be read into the record as if given orally from the stand.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Smith, have you also prepared a summary of your pre-filed testimony?
Yes, my summary testimony will explain the allowable costs incurred in fiscal year 2020-2021 and the costs proposed for fiscal years 2021-2022.
Please describe the allowable costs incurred in fiscal year 2020 to 2021 and compare those costs to the amounts identified in Commission Order 2021-412.
This part of my testimony will focus on the principal differences in categories of costs between actual costs incurred in fiscal year 2020-2021 and the costs identified in Commission Order number 2021-412. Actual fixed costs are more than the costs identified in Commission Order number 2021-412. Fixed costs. Actual fixed costs incurred in fiscal year 2020-2021 were $4,714 more than the fixed costs identified in Commission Order number 2021-412. This changed from the original application of $95,219 less than the amount identified in Commission Order number 2021-412 is due to increased corporate allocation. Therefore, Chem-Nuclear proposes an adjustment of $4,714 as shown on amended Exhibit A of the amended application. Variable costs. Variable costs consist of two parts. I will discuss variable labor and non-labor costs, and then variable material costs for the concrete disposal vaults, variable vault costs. Variable labor and non-labor costs. The actual variable labor and non-labor costs experienced in the disposal of waste in fiscal year 2020-2021 resulted in a total variable labor and non-labor cost of $127,538.15. The actual variable labor and non-labor costs experienced in fiscal year 2020-2021 is $10,210.22 more than the amount that would have been anticipated based on the rates provided in Commission Order number 2021-412. Chem-Nuclear requested an adjustment in this category of costs of $10,210.22 in the original and amended application. Variable material vault costs. The amount of actual variable material vault costs incurred in fiscal year 2020-2021 for standard disposal vaults was $373,546. This amount is $53,531.37 less than the amount calculated using rates identified in Commission Order number 2021-412. This change to the amended application was the result of an incorrect number submitted as the volume received of Class C waste. Therefore, Chem-Nuclear requests no adjustment, no adjustment in variable costs shown in the original and amended application. Irregular costs. Not all irregular costs for the year are known at the time a commission order is issued. Irregular costs are costs incurred for projects that may not occur each year or projects that occur each year but with varying costs. Irregular cost projects with varying annual costs include trench construction, site engineering, and drawing updates, and other site construction projects. Examples of projects that may not recur each year are large component disposal and license renewal proceedings and hearings. Total actual irregular costs incurred for fiscal year 2020-2021 were $20,192 more than the cost identified in Commission Order Number 2021-412 of $577,277. Therefore, Chem-Nuclear seeks an adjustment of $20,192 in irregular costs shown in the original and amended application.
Please describe the cost proposed for fiscal year 2021 to 2022.
The costs proposed for fiscal year 2021-2022 are summarized in amended Exhibit C. Disposal operations in fiscal year 2021-2022 will continue to reflect the smaller routine volume disposal site operations because the disposal site will continue to accept only waste from the 3 Atlantic Compact states. Proposed fixed costs. For fiscal year 2021-2022, we propose $3,318,742 in total fixed costs, as shown on amended Exhibit C in the amended application. The original application proposed $3,207,886 in total fixed costs. As a result of the ORS audit, which reviewed actual costs from July 1st through December 31st, 2021, and projected costs for the remainder of the fiscal year, costs in the labor, fringe, and non-labor category, along with costs in equipment, leases and support, and corporate allocations categories were increased, which resulted in the higher amount proposed in the amended application. Proposed irregular costs. As discussed earlier, not all irregular costs were known at the time the application was submitted. The irregular costs identified in amended Exhibit C are based on projected costs incurred during the first half of fiscal year 2021-2022 and activities expected in the second half of the fiscal year. A total of $425,493 in various irregular project costs was summarized in Exhibit C to our original application. The amended application proposes a total of $342,738 in irregular costs, as shown in amended Exhibit C. This decrease is primarily due to lack of irregular expenditures in site maintenance and equipment repairs. Proposed variable labor and non-labor cost rates. The variable labor and non-labor cost rates proposed for fiscal year 2021-2022 are based on actual experience during fiscal year 2020-2021 and then inflated by 2.5%. There is no change in this category of costs from the original to the amended application. Proposed variable material vault cost rates. The vault cost rates proposed in amended Exhibit C are based on actual experience during fiscal year 2020-2021 and then inflated by 2.5%. The amounts shown on amended Exhibit C for variable material cost rates, vaults, are the same as those shown on Exhibit C of the original application.
Mr. Smith, last year you were asked about insurance coverage relating to the Barnwell facility, correct?
Yes.
Have you had a chance to review the applicable insurance policies?
Yes, I have. Additionally, ORS requested the policies through the discovery process, and we have provided a copy of those policies to ORS.
Have you provided a copy also to the Commission?
Yes, we also filed a copy of the discovery responses with a confidential designation with the Commission.
Last year, you were also asked whether the insurance policies provided proper amount of coverage relating to the Barnwell facility operations. Do you believe the policies offer adequate coverage for the Barnwell facility?
Yes, based on industry standards and our other operations throughout the country, Chem-Nuclear believes the policies provided to ORS and the Commission provide the proper amount of insurance coverage.
Does that conclude your direct testimony?
Yes, it does.
Thank you. Please answer any questions that ORS or the Commission may have.
Attorney Black, did you want to enter Exhibits A, B, and C into the record from Mr. Smith's direct testimony?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, we're going to enter amended Exhibits A, Exhibit B, and amended Exhibit C as a composite exhibit, and they will be entered into the record as hearing exhibit number 2.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sir. All right, questions from the Office of Regulatory Staff?
No questions from ORS. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome, sir. Commissioners, questions for the witness. Commissioner Powers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just have one question. I'm going to leave some of this accounting up to people to understand it better than I do. What exactly is large component disposal? What are you talking about?
So we provide disposal services for utilities within Atlantic Compact. One of the non-routine kinds of waste that we may receive are related to the replacement of things such as steam generators, reactor pressure vessels, which are large, normally low, fairly low radioactivity type, but significant size components. And so it's an unusual, not an unusual, but an irregular, non-routine type of disposal that we provide as service.
Is that something you had to do in the last year, or?
We, completed within roughly the last year. We provided that service to Duke, Oconee for rotors and diaphragms. They were replacing those. We provided an outlet for that.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome, Commissioner Powers. Commissioner Thomas.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, Mr. Smith.
Good morning.
Good to see you. Let's talk a little bit about the SAP software conversion. So who's working on that project? Is that consultants or employees or what?
My understanding, I'm not directly involved, is a corporate level activity, which is still in process. And there are consultants as well as EnergySolutions employees overseeing that process.
Okay. So is this software used elsewhere in the overall larger parent companies?
Oh, yes. I mean, this is a parent company initiative, and it rolls down as Chem-Nuclear Systems as a part of that parent company will ultimately operate under that system.
Okay. So is the delay in the getting this online, is that increasing costs?
I can't speak directly to that. It is taking longer, and so you can maybe correlate time and cost, but I am not privy specifically to budget versus actuals on the corporate level project for the company.
Okay. So is there any kind of update or details that you can provide related to the delay in the rollout?
Yeah, I don't have any fundamental information about exactly when that transition is going to occur.
Okay. Do you have any concerns about the delay impacting the accounting for the next review period?
Well, our commitment is to, communicate with this commission about, this transition. I haven't seen any specific corporate, allocations that would suggest we're going to see a significant impact. But again, I'm not aware of the specifics of how this will ultimately affect GNA at the Chem-Nuclear level.
Okay. Do you know if any of the current period financials were created from the new SAP system?
No. My understanding is the current reporting is not from the SAP system.
Okay. And have you been working with ORS to keep them updated on what's going on? Or have they been involved to any?
They can. I have not directly communicated with them, but others within our organization likely have had. You can ask them directly about that, but I have not spoken to them directly about the status of this.
Okay. And once this is in place, do you assume that there will be cost savings, or is it end up potentially being more expensive under the new system?
Again, I'm not aware of the ultimate impact, of installing a new system. I would assume that the intent of doing this is to increase efficiency within our overall organization and connectivity within various aspects of how we operate. So the intent would be to increase efficiency of operations.
Okay. So in connection with the increased costs for labor and fringe and non-labor in the fixed cost category, you said that you've anticipated increasing by about 2.5%. Is that correct?
Well, the 2.5% was speaking to those variable cost rates for vaults and non-labor and labor. That's where specifically those rates have been adjusted to reflect that. The other rates in the fixed cost categories are based on recent experience and projections for the coming or for the current fiscal year.
Okay. So in the materials, the 2.5%, do you think that given what's going on in the world today that that's still a reasonable number?
I think it's reasonable for how we operate in this case. We see variability in particular in these vault costs beyond simply increasing costs by a flat 2.5%. It's dependent also on the kind of waste and sizes of waste that we receive and place within our standard vaults. So there's a number of variabilities. And so I think we will see how this plays out and then adjust into the next year. So these are fairly recent occurrences, and we could see from our vendors changes, but we haven't seen that yet.
Okay. So on the applications, you said the variable costs were $53,531 less than the projection.
For the vaults, yes.
Yeah. So the company gets to, I guess, keep that money?
No.
Is that?
No, we only receive what we spend plus the allowed fee. So the spending less for vaults is less revenue in this case.
All right. So you said that you started with the company back in 1986, I think?
Yes.
And so how long had the plant been operational at that point in time?
Well, it's been operating since 1971.
71, okay, that's what I thought. So you definitely have a lot of institutional knowledge then.
I've been around a while, yes.
Yes, you have. So that's good. That's good. And I guess you're thinking that perhaps within the next year you're going to be retiring?
Well, I don't know if I call it retiring, but moving to some new opportunities, yes.
Okay, very good. All right, well, wishing you the best.
Thank you.
Vice Chair Belzer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Mr. Smith.
Hi.
Thank you for your appearance and testimony this morning. I appreciate that. Just have a couple of questions. Just to start, what is the projected, how much longer do you project Barnwell to be able to receive waste? How much room do y'all have for additional waste?
So, we periodically update site capacities, and that time, right now we estimate in the, a little older estimate, but around 900,000 cubic feet of waste disposal volume available. Now, to put a time frame on that, on how much longer, depends on assumptions you make about what we receive. We've been receiving on the order of 10 to 12,000 cubic feet a year, so you can do the math there and come up with a big number. However, if we receive large components, those tend to be larger volumes. You'll see in our recent history that we'll have spikes in volume associated with those. So if we have a plant that decommissions, we're going to see space get used up at a higher rate. So, we really don't put a date on then, a particular endpoint.
Okay. I seem to, you were talking about some of the waste coming in. I seem to remember a number of years ago, a reactor, perhaps from the Northeast.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of discussion on a sling or some kind of cradle for that thing to be put into. And so when you say large components, you're talking about something like that.
Yes, and often they are a significant project simply to get them from the source location to us, heavy hauls, and in some cases, taken either by rail or by water, up the Savannah River in some cases
Okay.
to reach us.
So things come up the Savannah River and then are trucked over? Is that
Correct.
Okay. I noticed that there were some increased labor, fringe, and non-labor costs, and you testified to that. Or, what were the drivers behind that?
So, specifically, you mean in the 2020, 2021?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, let me speak to that. I would note that I wouldn't view any of the increases as particularly anything significant relative to the total overall amount. So, in the case of our fixed costs, essentially equivalent, $4,700, slightly higher, driven by some increase in the corporate allocation. The variable costs, variable labor and non-labor, we have, again, a cost rate that determines what we expect calculated, and then we have project numbers within our departments to actually capture those costs. So in this case, $10,000 of increase. No general driver in the case where you can point to, just one particular thing, like in the other case, corporate allocation, or in some other cases, we see a little bit of increase in, let me see, in the case of irregulars, well, actually irregulars went down. No, wait a minute. No, in the case of irregulars, you can point to, again, for 2020, 2021, a little bit of increase in the trench construction costs. Been putting some emphasis on some design related to construction happening in that time frame, push those costs up a little bit. So, a couple very specific drivers in the case of irregular costs and fixed costs, and no particular one in the case of the variable non-labor labor.
Okay.
Other cases, they were decreases.
And with the increased corporate allocation, what's driving that?
My understanding is related to IT security enhancements.
Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate your testimony and your answering my questions.
Thank you.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Vice Chair Belzer. Commissioner Williams.
Thank you, Chairman Williams. Good to see you this morning.
Thanks.
I found very intriguing table 2.1-1 in the EnergySolutions document. Do you happen to have it in front of you?
Okay, so which EnergySolutions document? Okay, is that the least cost operating plan?
It is, absolutely.
Okay, so I do not have a least cost operating plan with me.
I don't have a lot of details, so let me try my
Yeah,
question
go ahead
and
and
just
ask.
see. What I found interesting in reading the footnotes and seeing, where volumes increased and
Yeah.
kind of just kind of looking at your history. But then the projection in terms of volume is 7,000. I'm not sure what the dimension is, but
It's cubic feet.
cubic feet going forward.
Yes.
Talk to me some about why, I understand, of course, the past is going to have a lot of variability, but kind of in keeping with Commissioner Belzer's question, you've got 7,000 projected each year. Is that just a placeholder? Is there something real about that number?
So that number is essentially the baseline number for the, in this case, at this particular time, our primary utilities that we service, they pay an access fee to access the facility. And the amount of volume associated with that access fee is about 7,000 cubic feet. So the baseline, that is the baseline projection. And so amounts above that would be either from other sources that are not access fee customers, or those are access fee customers that went over their allocation and they pay a different rate, or we got some large components. And so we do the projection based on the baseline cost. And again, we're looking at a least cost operating plan. How do we operate into the future? And so assuming that we're getting extra revenue from special shipments and things down the road is not necessarily, necessary to assess, your baseline ability to continue to operate.
Thank you. That makes sense. You may have covered this, but in the irregular costs predicted for 2021, 2022, there's a significant reduction. What is the around 40% less that you anticipate for this coming year? What are the drivers of that?
So, we see a lot of variability because primarily it's driven by, are we receiving a large component that we know of? So that will drive a lot of it. We call that an irregular. So that will make a big change in numbers. Are we in need of building more disposal space? Okay, so specifically for this particular comparison, let's take a look at 2021, 22. Let's see where those are. Right here they are. So let's get that. The big decrease you'll note is in large components.
Okay.
So large, and that was the, as I mentioned earlier, the rotors and diaphragms, and they drove a higher number for the previous fiscal year. And you'll note the difference between the 2 years.
Okay. I'm just checking my questions, but I think I've got them. Thank you very much, Mr. Smith.
Thank you.
Commissioner Thomas.
Chairman Williams.
Commissioner Caston, you have the floor after Commissioner Thomas.
So I have a couple of questions. You're talking about the large components. Do you get much warning when that kind of activity is going to happen? I mean, is it like 6 months or a couple of years or?
Yeah, so we work with our customers trying to get as much warning as we can. As you can imagine, both from their end and from our end, there's quite a lead time in preparing that. So we work closely and actually have a collaborative group that includes representatives of all the utilities as well as ORS and DHEC, where we meet periodically, typically with the Atlantic Compact meeting, to engage them and try to identify things that are coming down the road. But they also recognize that there's lead time, and even without those meetings, the customers will early on have to reach out to us. So the answer to your question is yes, you need lead time, and they're usually provide sufficient lead time.
Okay. So the compact states are South Carolina, New Jersey, and Connecticut, right?
Correct.
It's an interesting group of states. Are there any facilities similar to yours in New Jersey or Connecticut?
Not that I'm aware of. I mean, there is no licensed facilities like ours up there.
Okay. So basically, you're receiving materials from those other two states. It's not things are being sent there.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Commissioner Caston.
Thank you, Chairman Williams. Good morning.
Good morning.
Probably these will be like redundant questions based on what previous three commissioners asked, but I want to first make sure I understood understand the capacity you're talking about, and then looking at projections. You said there was currently available 900,000 cubic feet of space. Is that correct?
That's correct. That is my estimate here at the stand, is in that realm as far as the remaining capacity.
And I know you said that since there are variables relative to how much, whether it's a large component or not, Chem-Nuc does not look at determining how many years, projecting years. But as I think about that, I think about, okay, like since its inception, since the inception of the compact, let's say, do you keep or have, I guess, the average annual waste received, which would be inclusive of, you know, large components or just a typical year? Do you have that information?
Yes. That information is updated each year in the least cost operating plan that is submitted to the commission, and it was referenced here today. That information is readily available within that document.
And relative to that, because I did see some numbers in there, relative to that in the compact states, I think Commissioner Thomas, you know, asked this. I guess I'm going to ask it in a different way. Does the company, I know you said you meet with DHEC, ORS, and the compact, I guess, representatives to kind of determine if any big components are up and coming. But I guess what I'm thinking in terms of is, do the compact states, ours included, generally know when they're, whether it's their nuclear facilities or whatever, you know, there's a certain life expectancy on plants, components, and that there's maybe a reasonable way to project what those will be per state and kind of try to come up with an estimate over the next 20 years or whatever it is, that you would have those large components, disposal. In other words, I understand the variability and not wanting to have come up with a fixed or an estimated number of life expectancy, but I would think with all of that information that, you know, there should be a reasonable method for determining a range of years. For example, if it's average 10,000 cubic feet, I think you had said 9,000 to 10,000 cubic feet, that would be 90 plus years. Or if that number's 20,000, it would be 45. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you know, fair question. Could I respond at this point?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Please
Yeah,
do.
so, yeah, we don't, you know, specifically identify like an endpoint. However, in our various documents, we do speak to timeframes because it's important to make assumptions about timeframes. And so, and that has been driven to some extent by, you know, dates at which some of these plants may decommission. But those dates are not fixed and necessarily, and in some cases we're hearing that they're looking to reapply and extend. So, but specifically, we are required every 3 years to submit a decommissioning plan to the DHEC that addresses, you know, projections of adequacy of long-term extended care funds. It requires that we define how we would go about decommissioning the plant, and it becomes relevant for us to make an assumptions about longevity for that purpose. So we do have that in consideration when it comes to the practical matters of assessing, how we operate into the future and how we ultimately decommission. So
I understand. Thank you very much. It sounds like you're on top of it and you're looking into that. And
that's a fair question. So,
and relative to perhaps your retirement, I too wish you well. And as I've reminded more than one retiree, there's nowhere in the Bible where it talks about retirement. Do something useful, whatever you do. And I believe you will. Thank you.
yeah, thank you, sir.
Smith.
Thank you, Commissioner Caston. Commissioners, any more questions for Mr. Smith?
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Irvin, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Smith, good morning.
Good morning.
Could you give us an update on the monitoring wells that measure the pollution that has leaked into the freshwater aquifer? Is that kind of stabilized, or is it still spreading? Give us kind of an update on that, please.
Yes, so there is a plume of material, primarily tritium, that extends to the south and southwest of the facility on either licensed or EnergySolutions property, and is compliant with DHEC regulations as recognized by the Department of Health and Environmental Control. They do an annual report on that matter that is made public. We trend. I would say that it's fair to say it's stable in its configuration, and on balance, decreasing in concentration. Clearly decreasing in concentration at the compliance point for the facility over many years. So we've seen a lot of progress in that respect. So I don't have there's nothing particularly notable since our last meeting to report in that respect, or in this area. So I think stable is a fair statement.
Well, that's certainly good news. I appreciate you sharing that with us. When is your last day at the facility?
May 20th.
Okay. Well, I also want to thank you for your service to the people of South Carolina and to the other states in the compact. I think you've certainly done an admirable job, and we're going to miss your leadership. I'm wondering, has a search begun for your replacement?
We have the replacement in the room with us now. He's been working at our facility in an assistant director capacity for nearly a year, and well prepared to move us forward successfully.
Great. Well, I know your institutional knowledge will be missed. Hopefully you'll be available if questions arise. You certainly have been there for how many years now?
It would be 36 as of July, this coming July. 36 years.
I hope that you've kind of made it a practice to keep operations manuals and that kind of thing to assist your successor.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, in our business, documentation and information is, and procedures are there to ease transitions. So.
Very good. Well, listen, good luck to you. And those are all the questions I have, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Irvin. Commissioners, any more questions for Mr. Smith? All right, Attorney Black, any redirect for Mr. Smith?
Nothing further from Mr. Smith. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, and I think I asked, but if I didn't, Office of Regulatory Staff, any questions for Mr. Smith?
No, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Mr. Smith, you may step down from the witness stand, and you are excused, sir.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Attorney Black, do you have any more witnesses?
That concludes our case, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you, Attorney Black. Office of Regulatory Staff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. ORS's examination report that was filed on March 15th has been entered into the record, and ORS did not pre-file testimony in this matter. We have nothing further at this time.
All right, thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, it appears that we have heard the case before us in full, and there's no further matters for us to address at this time. Therefore, we are adjourned.